So students, today we're going to learn about the most important aspect of grammar, that is verbs. So to understand this better, we have with us a new student in our class. Her name is Miss Verb. She does a lot of jobs. She works a lot. Out of the many jobs, she has one main job, and that is of denoting, or we can say of expressing actions. She has multiple jobs, but this is her main job. Well, I've used Miss Verb in these sentences here. But before that, like always, we have our best friend here to help us out with our definition, as always. Hey Google,
Hi, how can I help?
what is a verb?
Here's the definition of verb. A word used to describe an action, state, or occurrence and forming the main part of the predicate of a sentence, such as hear, become, happen.
Thank you, Google.
Not a problem.
So, the definition of a verb goes like a verb is a word that expresses an action or a state or an existence. So, here you can see few examples over here. The first sentence goes, Miss Verb swims in the swimming pool every day. So this verb swimming is an action. The second example is the water is cold for Miss Verb. So is the verb of state. The third one, the Great Pyramids are in Egypt. Obviously Miss Verb has seen it. So the word are is the verb of existence. And the fourth example, I think Miss Verb likes us. So here the verb think is a verb of feeling. Let's take a look at some more examples which talks about other types of verbs. Mental verbs. Mental verbs are related to concepts of thinking, understanding, and discovering. Let's understand this better with the help of few examples. The first one is, I know the answer. So here, verb is know, which is a mental verb. It's like I saw the question, I thought about the answer, and I know the answer. So it relates to thinking and understanding. The second one is, I recognize the actress. So here, it's about discovering something. We have a third type of verb too, that is, state of being verbs. They are also known as inactive verbs. They are exact the opposite of action verbs. They describe conditions and situations that already exist. Let's look at these sentences now. The first one is, I am a student. So here, am is a verb. The second one, we are together. And here, are is a verb. In these sentences, they are not showing any actions. They are just inactive. But they describe situations that already exist. Now we shall learn about the subject and the object of a verb. Well, let's just simplify things first. So what is a subject? A subject is nothing but it is the doer of an action. And what is an object then? An object is the receiver of an action. Let me just tell you a few tricks here. To find the subject of a verb, we simply have to ask a question. What or who? And to find the object of a verb, we have to ask the questions what or whom. To make it clearer, let us look at the sentences here. The first sentence says, the boy kicks the football. What is the verb in the sentence? It is the action of kicking. So, kicks is our verb here. Then what is the subject of the verb? Let's just apply these rules. Who kicked the football? We get an answer here. It's the boy. And therefore, boy is the subject of our verb kicks. Now let's find out the object of the verb. So let us just ask these questions again. The boy kicked what? The boy kicked the football. So that's the answer that we get. So therefore, football is the object of our verb kick here. Let's look at the second sentence. John threw a stone. So I give you 1 minute's time to apply the rule here and find out the subject and the object. So your time starts now. Okay, so here's the answer. Check for yourself. Who threw the stone? John threw it. So John becomes our subject. Threw is our verb here. John threw what? He threw a stone. So therefore, stone here is our object. So you see how simple it is to find out the subject and the object of the verb. We simply need to remember that a subject is a thing or person performing an action, and the object is the one who is receiving the action or who is the receiver of the action. Don't forget to ask the questions what or who and what or whom. Now we're going to learn about transitive and intransitive verbs. Well, students often get confused with these verbs. They find it very complicated. Well, don't worry, we're going to simplify transitive and intransitive verbs. Let us first look at transitive verbs. The first sentence here is, the man killed. The second sentence goes, the hunter shot. And the third sentence, the boy called. Well, these sentences seem a little incomplete to me. We need to add some meaning to them to make them more complete and more meaningful. So let us just say, the man killed a mosquito. The mosquito beat the man and so the man killed it. The second sentence, the hunter shot the tiger. Well, yeah, that makes sense. The third sentence, the boy called his mother. Great. So, we have added some things here and we've made it complete by giving it some meaning. So, let's go back to the sentences. The man killed a mosquito. What is the verb in this sentence? It is killed. Then, what is the subject? Now to find out the subject of a verb, we have to ask the questions. What or who? So, who killed the mosquito? The man killed it. So the man becomes our subject. And what is our object? You already know the trick here. So you need to identify it now. Okay, so the answer here is mosquito. So also an important thing. Let us just do a recap. Subject is the doer of the action and object is the receiver of the action. I give you 1 minute's time here now. You got to find out the verb, subject and the object of the remaining two sentences. Well, shot is the verb here, the hunter is the subject and a tiger is the object. Called here is our verb. Subject here is the boy and the receiver of the action, that is the object, is mother. So what are these verbs? Killed, shot and called? These are transitive verbs. And why are they called transitive verbs? Because they need an object to add meaning to them. So here, if you remember, initially we just had incomplete sentences. But after adding few words after it, we brought meaning to the sentence. So here, these verbs that need an object to make it more meaningful, they are known as transitive verbs. So it's simple, transitive verbs. They need an object to complete themselves. Now, let's take a look at this sentence here. The boy sat under the tree. So, who sat under the tree? The boy sat. So, boy is our subject and said is our verb. Now, does it mean that under the tree is our object? So the boy said what? The boy said whom? We're not getting an answer to these questions of what or whom. Therefore, under the tree is not an object. It's simply a preposition. So don't get confused there. Just remember one thumb rule, which is to find the object in a sentence, we simply need to ask the question, what or whom? So therefore, in this sentence, under a tree is not our object, or it's simply a prepositional phrase. So now we know what transitive verbs are. So now to understand what intransitive verbs are, here we have few examples. The first example here is the fire burns. Well, this does make sense. The second sentence, the sun shines. And the third sentence, the birds fly. Okay, it's true, makes sense. So these verbs here, burns, shines and fly, they do not need anything else to add meaning to them. So they are independent. But you know what? I'm just in the mood of adding some words to these sentences. So I'm going to say the first sentence, the fire burns brightly, which it does. The second sentence, the sun shines in the sky. And lastly, we have the third one, the birds fly high. So, now it feels good after adding these words to these sentences. Now just let's read these new sentences. The first one, the fire burns brightly. The second one, the sun shines in the sky. And the third one, the birds fly high. Okay, so in the first sentence, the fire burns brightly. Our verb here is burns. And what is brightly? Is brightly an object? I want you to recall the tricks that I gave you previously. Ask the questions, what or whom? So let's do that together. The fire burns what? Not an answer. The fire burns whom? Still didn't get any answer. That means brightly here is not our object, but simply an adverb. Let's take a look at the second one now. The sun shines. Our verb here is shines. And what is in the sky? We're going to ask the question, what now? The sun shines what? The sun shines whom? Not an answer at all. So, in the sky is not our object, but simply a prepositional phrase. Now let's take a look at the third sentence. Birds fly very high. Okay, so fly is our verb. And the birds fly what? The birds fly whom? No answer. And that means that this is not our object. So, these verbs that we have here, burns, shines and fly, here is our intransitive verbs. And why are they called intransitive verbs? Because intransitive verbs are verbs that do not need an object or do not need anything to add a meaning to them. So they are independent. They do not require any supporting object, and that's it. Those are our intransitive verbs. So see, that's how simple transitive and intransitive verbs are.